The situation on the Indo-China border along the line of actual control in Eastern Ladakh remains tense and serious, perhaps the most serious situation since 1962's war with China. What are India's options? What is the reality that India is having to deal with? How should India deal with an aggressive Beijing? Joining me now is perhaps the country's foremost expert on China, former Foreign Secretary, National Security Advisor, and a former ambassador to China. Great qualifications. Thank you very much, Shivshankar Menon, for joining us. Let's start by looking at the situation, sir, as is being reported at the border in Eastern Ladakh. The last 2 months, reports coming in of a heavy Chinese build-up, temporary infrastructure being set up by the Chinese in that Eastern Ladakh area. What's your sense? Is it qualitatively different from what we've seen in the past, this military build-up that we are seeing at the moment?
Well, thank you for having me, Rajdeep, and thank you for asking me, and for what you said about me. Yes, it does seem different from what we've had in the past, but I must stress that all these reports have been non-official. They've been leaks or attributed to unnamed sources in the army and government. So we need to understand first that we are dealing here with unknowns. But of course, none of these reports has been contradicted either. So, and this has gone on for long enough that they could well be true, or at least some of these are certainly true. But given that uncertainty, yes, this does feel different from what we had before. It feels different in 2 or 3 respects. The scope, it is across the line in several places. Its nature, because according to the reports, the Chinese have come and sat on our side of the line as we see it, and are now permanently stationed, have built fortifications and so on, in areas which both sides might think are on their side of the line. And it's different also in terms of the sheer numbers which are being mentioned. If the report that China has actually expanded the definition of her LAC and is now claiming that the whole Galwan Valley is within her LAC, if those are true, then we actually have a real problem. Because then the Chinese are actually showing a willingness to break the agreements that we have signed in the past since 1993 onwards. And that would be a whole new pattern of Chinese behavior from which we would have to naturally draw our own conclusions, change our own behavior, and see how we deal with it. But this is why I am concerned.
I know you're saying there are no confirmations of these reports of the Chinese, exactly the nature of their military adventurism. These are entirely based on sources, but there is a report now in the British newspaper, The Telegraph, which actually goes to the extent of saying that the Chinese have annexed 60 square kilometers of Indian territory, primarily in the Galwan Valley. You have international papers reporting about it, and there's been no strong denial from the Indian side. Has the time come, therefore, for New Delhi to state its position categorically so that these reports of China annexing Indian land are put to rest?
You know, there are limits on what the government can say, because the government is presently in a process of negotiation with the Chinese in order to restore the status quo as it was before all this started. And in that process, they cannot negotiate through the media. But they do need, since this has dragged on for so long, and since the uncertainty is so high, I think they do need to communicate with their own people, and I think with the international community and with China as well, indicating what their red lines are, what is the minimum. For me, the minimum would be a restoration of the status quo and a vacation of any new fortifications, etc., that they might have built on our side of the line, and any permanent presence on our side. I say this because, as you said, it's now become a big international story. I'm not sure that somebody sitting in London knows any better what's going on the India-China border than we do. We're closer to it, and we don't know very much. As I said, there are big unknowns there. But so that worries me less from the fact that people might start drawing conclusions and acting wrongly. And most important, the Chinese shouldn't draw the wrong conclusion that, frankly, what they have done works. I say this partly because of our experience in Doklam, where the Chinese came in, sat in a place where previously they had only patrolled before 2017. When they came and sat permanently there, we went in and we had a face-off, 72 days, and we then negotiated a withdrawal, a mutual withdrawal. They withdrew from the face-off spot, we also withdrew. But subsequently, if you look at what the Chinese have done, they have actually, now they have a permanent presence on the Doklam Plateau, everywhere except the precise spot where we had a face-off. They have permanent structures, habitations, they have tarred roads, they have helipads, and they're there right through the year. So next, actually, the outcome has not been good, and they might have drawn the conclusion that they can actually take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and end up with the gain of 1 step, as long as they give us a propaganda victory of having faced them down. And that, I think, is very dangerous, because that would tempt them to start trying to change the status quo, which is the basis of the peace that we have enjoyed for about 40 years now all along the line.
Is that a fear, Mr. Menon, in a sense? Last week there were meetings at the level of major generals. There was talk of de-escalation. We still don't have any specifics, especially from the Chinese side, especially on the crucial Pangong Tso Lake in Ladakh. So is there a sense that while there may be de-escalation when it comes to the Galwan Valley, the Chinese seem unwilling to de-escalate from certain territories in the Pangong Tso area where they are de facto? The Chinese could then convert this into seeming de jure occupation and a new line of control. Is that the sense of fear that lurks?
It could be, because these are all sensitive areas. This is very close to Karakoram Pass, very close to Siachen. These are not areas which, we can just treat lightly as uninhabited and unimportant. So it could be that, yes, those are the fears. But frankly, we are now entering the realm of complete speculation. We don't know what the Chinese have demanded in the talks. We don't know what happened in the talks. We don't have an authoritative version. We have 2 leaked versions which contradict each other. And so, frankly, for me, I'd be very careful on speculating what actually happened in the talks.
Sir, Mr. Menon, I'm not asking you to speculate, but the fact is that there have been 12 rounds of talks at different levels. Now it's been escalated to the level of major generals. So obviously this is far more serious than is being thought of initially. There have also been reports of border skirmishes, videos of that have actually taken place in early May. So clearly this is not business as normal as the 2 sides perhaps normally would dispute what constitutes the line of actual control. This has gone to a level above that. To that extent, will we now have to see this very differently?
I agree with you that this is not business as usual. This is not the normal difference in perception of where the LAC lies. We've seen unacceptable levels of violence, actually, when some of the leaked videos were obviously, show really violence which has not happened in the past. These and the facts and all the things that I mentioned earlier showing that this is a changed pattern of behavior. But I see this actually as worrying, not only because of its potential, but because it's a test of both sides' ability to manage the relationship and to manage difficult issues. If China has changed her behavior and her attitude, then it will have major implications for the relationship between India and China in the future.
What explains this change in attitude, Mr. Menon, on the part of Beijing? Here we are, we were given to believe that there was a strong personal chemistry that Prime Minister Modi enjoyed with President Xi Jinping. The 2 met last year in Mahabalipuram. They met earlier in Ahmedabad, went on a swing together, talk of personal chemistry, and all of this is happening at a time when China itself is under global pressure because of the coronavirus pandemic. Therefore, what explains the change, rather hostile attitude that we are now confronted with on the border?
Well, their relationship between the leaders has to be the relationship between the countries, because they're meeting as Prime Minister and President, not as some individuals. It's not their personal chemistry that makes a relationship. This is a relationship between two great civilizational states who have had a complicated relationship for some time. So I don't think we need to drag their personal relationship into this. This is more about the two states and how they interact with each other. For me, over the last 2 or 3 years, India-China relations have deteriorated. You've seen increasing signs of that in terms of China's increasing commitment to Pakistan, China raising J&K in the Security Council and trying again and again to do so. There's a whole host of issues which have arisen in the relationship as both countries, I think, define their interests. And both countries rise, both countries grow. We're rubbing up against each other in the periphery. So there is actually a secular process of a deteriorating relationship over the last 2 or 3 years. And the way to deal with it, it seems to me, is for both sides to actually sit down and recalibrate. The old modus vivendi that had worked from the 80s onwards no longer works. We're dealing with a very different concept in terms of the governments and the leaders in place, the new authoritarians who run those countries, who rely on nationalism for their legitimacy. An international situation which is much more fraught. You can see what's happening between China and the U.S. China is even fighting a tariff war with Australia, what China is doing with South China Sea. You have a much more assertive China across the board, and we're seeing some of that on our border as well. So you have a context within which what's happening locally, this search for local military dominance, and or perhaps to restore local, what they regard as the balance which was in their favor before the road was built to DDO. So I think at those ends, when you look at it strategically and tactically, there could be a temptation for the Chinese to do this and to change their behavior. I think the question really is...
So how do you deal, Mr. Menon, with this expansionist, much more aggressive China under Xi in this era of a coronavirus pandemic? Possibly, as you said, some suggest trying to distract his own country's attention from the issues he faces within China. What are India's realistic options? There has been talk about an Indian build-up in Uttarakhand, Sikkim, sending more troops and equipment into Ladakh. Is that a military option to stand down the Chinese dragon in a way? Or do you believe that the more realistic option is quiet negotiations outside the media glare?
I have no doubt the Indian Army knows what it has to do. And that as a result of actions by successive governments over several years, the actual effect of violence on the border is today better from our point of view than it has been in the past, than it actually ever has been in the past. So that's part of it, but I don't want to go into the operational and the tactical issues because we don't know. None of us know. None of us know the facts, so let's not speculate about that. Let's leave that to the army. They know their business. The larger issue about Chinese behavior, if they're changing their definition of the LAC, those are issues you have to negotiate. You have to go to the table, talk to them, see what demands they're making. As I said, you and I don't know what demands the Chinese are making at the table, or whether they're making any demands at all, or whether they're just avoiding a discussion. We don't know that. As for China, which is much more assertive, he is pressured by the world. The pandemic, the economic crisis that it's created, actually affecting its possibility of achieving the China dream and all the other grand plans they have. In fact, a global situation where every part is diminished by this crisis, whether in political terms, in terms of the economic prospects, or in terms of education. Nobody has come out of this well. In fact, everybody has come out of it badly. How do we deal with that China? I think there are several standards and sort of geopolitics 101, self-strengthening, external balancing, working with our other partners who will also, there will be other neighbors of China who will be as worried about this, and with the established power in the region, the U.S., who is certainly concerned by what they see coming out of China in the recent past. Not that everyone will have the same interest, but there will be a coincidence of interest, a congruence, enough congruence for us to work together to try and ensure that the situation stabilizes.
You know, because the Indian reaction, at least the political reaction to what's happening at the border, has predictably been typically polarized. Elements close to the government even going to the extent, let's boycott Chinese goods, some kind of Indian counter-nationalism, if you want to call it that. Then you've got the opposition, the likes of Rahul Gandhi, saying the government must be more transparent. What is it hiding? Tell us what is happening on the border. Some elements in the opposition suggesting this is another Kargil, calling it an intelligence failure, where the enemy has gone and allegedly occupied Indian heights, and we don't know what's happening. Very contrasting reactions. Where do you stand? Is economic boycott, calling for more transparency, perhaps the answer to the very sensitive situation on the border?
Well, about, accountability and responsibility, is this an intelligence failure, etc., etc. Right now we're in a crisis. And I think as India, we need to handle the immediate crisis, get the Chinese to restore the status quo, go back, whatever. After the crisis, I think we should sit and study this and draw lessons learned. Who did what, who did right, who did wrong, what worked, what didn't work. That's something we should do later, as we did after Kargil. And we did it well. And it changed the way we worked, etc. About a boycott, I'm not sure that might give you some emotional satisfaction. But I don't think that's going to deter the Chinese from doing what they're doing militarily along the line. That has to be dealt with on the line. There are those who say, let's deal with them in the Indian Ocean. Let's find a maritime answer to this. They, after all, depend on Malacca, Straits of Hormuz. I don't think that's the answer. You need to deal with each issue separately. A boycott hurts Indian consumers. At a time when your economy, when about 30 to 50 million people have been thrown out of work, when your economy needs to get going, to turn your back on the cheapest and most efficient producer of goods that you need, to me, that doesn't make sense, nor does it solve your issue on the border.
Because at the moment, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Menon, it's not just on the Ladakh front. We've also got a new front, Nepal, a friendly neighbor opening up a front with us, redrawing the map, claiming parts of India like Kalapani. We had firing in the Nepal border on Friday. Many believe that the Chinese may well be goading Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. Do you believe that? Do you believe China is using a friendly neighbor like Nepal to put us under pressure? Is that a fear?
Whatever the Chinese might want to do, whether the Nepalese are being put up to it or not, I don't see how it is in India's interest to actually push them into the Chinese arms by saying so. Nepal for us is a close, very intimate neighbor with whom we have multiple relationships and affinities. And we should deal with them very differently from the way we deal with China. This is something that we need to handle politically between us and Nepal, and there are ways of doing this. Today, right now, feelings are running high on both sides, and it seems to work for a small portion of the Kathmandu elite to agitate this issue and to cover themselves in a cloak of ultra-nationalism. But I think we need to let all the normal processes between India and Nepal work and find a way forward out of this. But for me, accusing the Nepalese of doing this as Chinese instigation, that is a guarantee for further trouble. It's like saying that they have no agency of their own, which is untrue. And we've seen that. And we've seen how strong the Nepalese drive to independence is. We've seen it over the years, and I think we should credit it and work with it.
In conclusion, I want to ask you, what does all of this say, sir, about our neighborhood foreign policy at the moment? If relations with our most friendly neighbor have got ruptured in the way they have, if relationship with a country whose leadership the Prime Minister claimed to enjoy chemistry, personal chemistry, is in a very, very serious position. What does it say about our foreign policy under Narendra Modi's government in the neighborhood at the moment?
It says that we need to step up our game. We have been cutting development assistance to our neighbors for the last 3 years in our every budget. We need to actually get out there and do much more work. Build on the affinities we have. We should be a source of economic growth, of a net provider of security within the subcontinent, and that is something that we should be doing consciously, because we need a peaceful territory in our own interest. So for me, what this suggests is that we need to work much harder with our neighbors and on our neighborhood policy than we have been perhaps in the recent past.
In conclusion, do you believe this will be resolved amicably with China? Do you fear the worst? Will there be, to use your words, a Chinese attempt now to fundamentally rewrite the status quo along the line of actual control, create a new situation? Do you think it will be resolved like you managed to resolve in 2013 in Depsang? Do you think it will be resolved as easily in 2020, 7 years later?
Well, 2013 wasn't easy, by the way, but this is not 2013. This is a different time. So do I think it can be resolved? I have an open mind because, as I said, I don't know how many of these reports that we're seeing are true. If all of them are true, then I'm actually a little concerned about whether we can find a new and quick way out of it. But today, I cannot say that I'm sure we will resolve it right away, or that it will never be resolved, or it's going to lead to something much worse. No, I wouldn't say either of those things, because frankly, as where we started, we still have too many known unknowns.
Too many unknowns, too much uncertainty at the moment on the border situation with China. Mr. Shivshankar Menon, I appreciate you sharing with us your wisdom and your experience on this contentious big news issue. Thanks for joining us.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.